Hello my dears and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today we have another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim. Now one of you guys recommended this book to me months ago and I finally got my hands on it and I was so excited to read it because I knew it was like one of those like feminine rage, good for her type of stories. And boy was it. So since this is a book talk video, what we'll do is I'll give you the brief synopsis, then we'll get into some spoilers, but I'll give you a warning before we do in case you don't want to hear those spoilers because either you haven't read it yet or whatever the case may be. So we have a young woman and her name is Ji-eun and she's Korean and she lives with her mom and her sister. And when the book starts, we learn that her dad has recently left. He just up and left. He was having an affair and he left his family to go be with this other woman. And their mom is devastated. You know, as you would be. But like, she's devastated. All she does is cry. All she does is cry. Anyway, soon after that, though, when she's at work one day, she works at the supermarket, she meets a man named George, and he is instantly love bombing her, like red flags all around. But Uma, her mom, she doesn't see it. She's just happy to have found somebody new. And it brings her out of her funk a little bit. But like Ji-eun, she's like, nope, this man is bad news. So what we have here, which you probably wouldn't have guessed from what I've just told you about, is the slow, simmering, unraveling of a woman who is completely unhinged. And that is our main character, Ji-eun. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's like a pot simmering its way to boil. It starts off, it's pretty slow. There's a lot of the mom crying. There's a lot of like her sister being so upset that their dad is gone. And then once it hits the boiling point, things start going fast. So if you like an unhinged woman in a sort of a making of a serial killer type of story, would definitely recommend this. It's a little gruesome at parts, as the title would tell you, like the eyes are the best part. That's going to kind of give you an idea of what's to come. But I loved it, and like I looked at one review on Goodreads and it just said, honestly, good for her. And it's hard to disagree with that. It's like, you do what you gotta do, girl. So, if you don't want the spoilers, now's the time to click away. And just skedaddle on out of here, because we're about to go through it together. Okay, now that they're gone, we can kind of get into it. So, like I said, it's a bit of a slow burn at the beginning. And where the eyeballs come into this story is when Ji-eun's mom makes dinner, she often cooks fish, like the entire fish. And her mom eats the eyeballs from this fish because she's like, it's good luck. And I need some good luck because, like I said, she's devastated because her husband is gone. And she's like, I need the good luck. She's like, girls, you want some? And both the girls are like, hell no. No. That's disgusting. I don't want any. But one day, after like enough urging from her mother, Ji-eun's like, you know what? Yep, I will try one. She puts it in her mouth. And she, to her surprise, she doesn't hate it. She doesn't hate it. So meanwhile, she's going to college. Her grades aren't great. And eventually she gets put on academic probation because she's really all over the place. She has this whole thing with a group of friends that she went to high school with, and they were like, we're all going to go to college together, and after college get jobs together, and then get married and our kids will be friends together. And then they all get into the college except for Ji-yoon. And she's devastated. And she actually, so we get to see the first, like, really true colors of hers coming out here in this flashback. Because after she doesn't get in, and she's like, they're going to go away. Because even though they're all like, we'll come back every month and visit you. And just because you have to go to school here, like, we'll still get jobs together and live together when we're done. And she's like, no, they're going to forget about me. I know it. So she decides she's going to, like, sabotage their friendship before they can leave. And so they're all together one day, and she steals out of her friend's backpack, like, this necklace that's really important to her, and she plants it in the house of the girl whose house they're at. And so later that night, the one friend, she's like, my necklace is gone. And they're like, oh my God. And then Jun, she's like, why don't we go over back to your house tomorrow, the other girl's house, and we can look for it. And they're looking, and then Jun at one point, she's like, oh my God, I found it. And then everybody turns on the one girl because they think she stole the necklace. But of course she didn't. And she keeps doing these things, trying to sabotage their friendship. And it's working for a while until they start to get suspicious because nothing bad's happening to her. They're like, why is it only bad stuff happening to us and not you? And they kind of put all the pieces together. And then they're like, you are nuts, but we get it. You know, it's got to be a tough time for you not getting to go to school with us. So listen, we'll talk to you at Thanksgiving when we all come home. Let's have a cool off period, and then we'll talk to you later. So that's the first time we get a real glimpse of, like, there's something wrong with this girl. Then, so her mom meets this new guy, George. And George is real weird about Asians. First of all, he won't even try to learn the pronunciation of these two girls' names. He just calls them by their initials. And they both find this very disrespectful, which of course it is. And, like, he takes them out to Chinese restaurants all the time, and he's always, like, flirting with the waitresses. And if the waitresses are white, he won't go back there. He's like, I want an authentic experience. I want Asian waitresses. And they're all like, that's really weird. He's got this weird, like, fetishization of Asian women. So Jiyeon, she hates him. She hates him. But he's got these beautiful blue eyes. And she can't stop thinking about eating them. She wants to eat them so bad. So things carry on. She starts sabotaging him now. Like, she'll hide his keys, she'll take his money, she'll destroy his work presentations, she'll this, that, and the other. And he's getting on Hinge, and she starts to find out all kinds of crazy stuff about him, like that he's got another woman that he's living with. Like, he's seeing all these different Asian women. They're all pawns in his weirdo games. And she's like, oh no, that's so good. I can kill him now to eat his eyes. I'm gonna eat his eyes. And, like, it starts off slow. Like, she keeps having these really coincidental run-ins with people who are, like, it starts one night, there's this homeless man, and he's dying in the street. And there's no one around, and it's really late at night. And then she kills him. Like, she makes sure he dies. And then she eats his eyes. And it's so gross. And so she starts to, like, well, first of all, there's this one guy at university that's, like, obsessed with her. And she's not really into him. And he's one of those guys that really posture themselves as, like, a male feminist, but you know it's all fake. And that he's just saying the things that he thinks you want to hear. And she starts to see cracks beneath his veneer. Like, he can't keep it up. The real him, like, keeps sneaking out sometimes. So she's like, she tries to, like, brush him off, but, like, he will not be deterred. And eventually he's like, I have feelings for you. And she's like, well, I don't have them for you. So, you know, his one saving grace is his eyes are brown, and she doesn't want to eat brown eyes. She only wants to eat blue eyes. So there's a homeless man, and then there's, like, another guy somewhere. Was it like a frat bro guy who she once heard saying really, like, off-putting things about Asian women. She kills him. His eyes. So we're building up, of course, to George. So she knows all about his secret double life. So she creates an account using a fake picture of an Asian woman, starts messaging him. He's very interested. At this point, him and her mom are supposed to be getting married any day now. And so she's talking to him as this other woman, and then she gets him to agree to meet her. So when she's waiting for him at this agreed upon location, so remember, he thinks she's just a random Asian woman. She goes in, gets him a cup of coffees, and she crushes up a bunch of pills and puts them in his coffee. So it's going to knock him out. So she gets in the vehicle and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, it was me. I'm the one. It was me all along. I lured you here. And I know all about you. I know what kind of man you are. And he's like, listen, get out of here. She's like, let's just calm down and drink our coffee. So he drinks his coffee, and then she's like, great, he passes out. And she takes her knife out, and she's going to get them. She's going to get them eyes. And she's getting ready to, she puts the knife, up under his eyelid. And he wakes up, because he can feel it. And he's big and strong, and he fights through the haze of the drugs, and he's shaking her and shaking her. Meanwhile, right before this had started, she texted that stalker guy from her school, and she's like, help, come here, I need your help. So she wasn't expecting George to wake up and fight back. So now she's kind of she gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. She wakes up, she's in the hospital. Okay, it's 4 days later. Her mom's like, oh my God, you're awake. And she's like, what am I doing here? Where am I? How long have I been here? And her mom's like, about 4 days. They thought you had a concussion because they found you and George knocked out at this construction site, and a neighbor heard the ruckus and called the police. Thankfully, they were doing an MRI to see if you had a concussion, and they found out you had a brain tumor, and they've removed it. And she finds out George's still alive, and he's in the next room. And she's like, oh my God. So I found the brain tumor thing interesting. So it makes you kind of question, because there'd be so many times she'd come to consciousness and she was standing in front of the open fridge. Or she'd just have moments where she wasn't sure what was real or not. So I'm guessing the brain tumor had a lot to do with that. And then it makes you also wonder about the people that she killed. Maybe she didn't. Maybe that was all hallucinations. It's never really told, which is fine. I like an ambiguous ending to a story. So anyway, she's like, oh my God, he's alive. So once everyone goes for the day, she goes next door and she kills him and takes his friggin' eyeballs. She goes back, she mixes it in with her dinner, eats it up. Then she calls Joffrey, I think his name is Joffrey, the guy from the school, and she's like, I need you to come here. And he's like, okay. And she's like, you won't believe this. George is alive and he's in the next room. And Joffrey's like, what do you mean he's in the next room? Why did they put him there? He was attacking you. That's crazy. So she gives him this knife. He goes over to the next room to confront George, but of course George is already dead. So he's standing there, knife in hand, in this dead guy's room. She's screaming for help. And then Jeffrey gets arrested for the murder of George. And she's like, well, there we go. All the loose ends tied up. Now, there are a lot of, and like I said, I loved it. Loved it. But yeah, there are a few points that it's like her being able to go next door and kill George without the monitors going off in a hospital. You're like, that's not how that would go. If he died, everything would start beeping, right? So, there's some plot holes that don't quite make sense, or I don't even know if they're plot holes. They're just things, and I'm like, that's not quite how that would actually go in real life. But I don't mind stuff like that for a story. I can suspend my disbelief. And I had a lot of fun with it, despite the gruesome moments every time an eyeball was brought into question. And it was a ton of fun. And from what I could tell, this was Monika Kim's debut novel. I believe that's what I read, and that's so cool. I can't wait to see what she writes next. So whoever recommended this to me, thank you so much. I had so much fun reading it. And I think it's going to be 5 stars for me. Just because of the fun I had. And I love a good for her storyline, because you're rooting for her. You're like, yeah, you know what? Eat his eyes. Go ahead. And yeah. So that's going to do it for me. If you've made it this far, put an eyeball in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you guys had a great weekend. It's Sunday afternoon as I'm filming this. And yeah, I'll see you again real soon, guys. Bye.